Pregnancy changes a woman's hormonal balance and weight regardless of her own will in preparation for a period of change in her body. Some people are so concerned about their health that they become oversensitive to food. How would you deal with someone who is insensitive to you at such a critical time when the understanding and support of those around you is so important? My daughter woke me up crying at night, and it's almost dawn. I'm sleepy, but I don't have time to sleep anymore, so I'm here. Good morning, and I admire you. Is your baby still a newborn? You just need to be patient a little longer. Thank you. It's tough, but I'm so thankful to have a healthy baby. Actually, I almost had a physical breakdown due to the harassment from my mother-in-law during my pregnancy. I will post this, even though there are not many people around, but please take a look if you like. Folks who are nursing and can't sleep like us will be with you. 3 years into my marriage, I found out I was pregnant. I reported the news to my parents and in-laws respectively. While my parents jumped up and down with joy, my in-laws were not so happy. For some reason, my mother-in-law was a little more subtle, or it seemed like there was a moment of pause before she expressed her congratulations. My husband Jack seems to notice that too.
Maybe she got nervous because it's her first grandchild.
Well, I'm the one who's going to give birth, aren't I?
I don't know, maybe she's turned on mother mode or something like that. Or maybe she is thinking about supporting you.
Then, well, that's okay. At the time, Jack and I had no way of knowing that this initial feeling of discomfort would be at the heart of what was to follow. Since then, my mother-in-law has repeatedly asked us to have dinner with her. I thought that she must have been concerned about my nutritional needs in her own way, so I went to her house without any caution at first.
I made dinner, so eat up.
The food was somewhat more luxurious than I expected. I feel sorry for making her prepare this much food, which must cost a lot of money and require a lot of washing up.
Hey, something is weird.
What do you mean?
I wonder if she's just excited because you're the guest. I've never seen anything like this in the food my mom serves.
Attention, like a maternity high, can be contagious. Attention, like a maternity high, can be contagious not only to the pregnant woman herself, but also to those around her. I read such an article somewhere, so I wondered if my mother-in-law was also on her first grandchild's high. After coming home, I got sick to my stomach and had to go to the bathroom several times in the middle of the night. Was her food really bad? Don't tell me she put something in the food. What did she make you eat?
Smoked salmon, probably bought at the department store. Az's knee patties on French bread. There were also crackers and blue cheese.
At that time, I still didn't know what food is not good for a pregnant woman. I was vaguely thinking that many of them seemed to go well with alcohol. I tried not to think too much about it, thinking that I just happened to have a weak stomach. After that, as I was often invited to dinner, and when I suggested eating out, she wondered why eating at her house was rejected. On one occasion, tuna sashimi was lined up on the table. Red, medium, and fatty tuna. Normally, I love tuna.
I thought raw fish was not good during pregnancy. He said to his mom, "Oh, really? She should eat them because they are full of nutrients. It's the same with any food. Much of it is bad. Don't worry too much. Jack wasn't convinced, but my mother-in-law had a point.
However, it was also certain the menu was a little biased. My misty suspicion soon turned into a conviction. Every time I ate at her house, I would get sick to my stomach. And during a routine checkup, I was finally diagnosed as dehydrated. When the doctor asked me what exactly I had eaten, he gave me a very severe warning.
Luna, you okay? You didn't have morning sickness, but I never thought you'd get sick for another reason. My mom called you again today, didn't she? What'd she make you eat for lunch?
There were raw oysters, raw melon, and very sashimi.
And for Mies, I explained to him that I had been pacing back and forth between the bathroom and the living room, while my butt and stomach were aching. To then Jack, with an angry look on his face, took out his cell phone and started looking something up at great speed.
As it says, tuna contains methylmercury, so you should limit your intake to no more than about 80 grams per week. Tuna contains methylmercury, so you should limit your intake to no more than about 80 grams per week.
Oh, really?
I shuddered at the memory of the tuna sashimi arranged in the cramped space on the table at my in-laws' house.
Why don't you write down as much as you can remember of the foods my mom has served you? And
to be honest, I was scared to find out if something I had already eaten was okay, but I needed to be sure of my mother-in-law's true intentions. It's already bad when all you get is raw food.
there was a day when she served half-cooked eggs. I remember she served a lot of them, saying they would give me energy. Jay, well, it says the shells of eggs have some little bacteria on them. And when the eggs are cracked, there is a risk that this bacteria will get on the whites and yolks, so they should be cooked well.
Salmonella doesn't affect the baby, but if a pregnant woman gets both morning sickness and food poisoning, it would be bad.
I saturate, I hope you don't have food poisoning. You have an upset stomach, don't you?
I do, but I don't feel sick. If it was food poisoning, the symptoms would be more severe.
Oh, but I'm still worried, so let's go to the hospital tomorrow.
I knew alcohol and caffeine were not good, but I had no idea there were so many foods to be concerned about. I regretted not being aware enough of being a pregnant woman.
Also says that smoked salmon and cured ham shouldn't be eaten during pregnancy. Also, these foods are said to have a risk of infection with a bacteria called Listeria monocytogenes. Because the risk of Listeria infection is 10 times higher in pregnant women. And in the worst case scenario, it can be transmitted to the baby through the placenta.
Stop it.
There is I. One more thing, what is it that you wrote?
Kelp, you know, like boiled kelp. That day, as I recall, was full of similar dishes. Everything was made with kelp broth. I waited for Jack's words with a clinging feeling that kelp must be good for health, but
Says iodine in kelp can lead to underactive thyroid function in babies, so be careful not to take too much.
What is this? A mystery aimed at the wife by the mother-in-law.
It can't be a coincidence.
From ham and melon to simmered kelp, she sure serves a wide variety of foods.
however, Jack and I were puzzled as to why in the world she continued to serve only things that were not good for a pregnant woman's health. Why did she persist in doing so when she was looking forward to the birth of her first grandchild? We needed to know the reason, but our first and foremost priority was to ensure my safety. We decided not to respond to her messages for the time being. I didn't answer when she called my phone, and Jack called her back instead.
Hey, Mom. I'm sorry, but Luna's not feeling well. The hospital has instructed her to be very careful about what she eats, and there are a lot of foods she can't eat, so we will eat at home for the time being.
Don't worry about the morning sickness. It happens to everyone. Luna needs to build up her strength, so what is her favorite food? I will make that for her. So bring her over.
Why do you want her to eat so much food? Can we just go out to eat or order takeout? See, I'm stopping, Mom. Do you know that all the raw fish, half-cooked eggs, raw ham, and piles of kale for you, you've been serving as raw food that pregnant women need to be careful with?
As long as she doesn't eat too much, she should be fine. It's not like food is going to kill her.
It could. There's always some food that's not good for pregnant women every time you cook, and she'll take responsibility if something goes wrong with the baby. You can't. I just appreciate your concern, but we have our own lives to lead. We'll go out to eat somewhere when Luna is feeling better again, okay?
Jack said that quite forcefully and hung up the phone. Are you okay? Sorry, if I wasn't pregnant, we would have a normal meal.
You didn't do anything wrong. It's my mom who's crazy, but I'm saying she's strangely stubborn, and I was a little scared of her obsession to make you eat her home-cooked food no matter what.
Both Jack and I became more and more cautious. Maybe she didn't apologize about the food she served me, or when she told me to come over to her house, even though I was sick. 2 weeks had passed since I stopped going to her house, and this time, my father-in-law called me impatiently.
Luna, how are you feeling? My wife misses you, you know.
I see her kindness, but there are many things I can't have, so it's difficult for me to come over often.
Is that so? My daughter said she had morning sickness too, but my wife made her porridge and stuff.
His daughter, that was Jack's sister. It was the first time I'd heard that his sister was pregnant. Oh, I just heard for the first time that your daughter is pregnant, and congratulations on that.
Well, it's great to have 2 grandkids at once, isn't it? I'm CSG. I'm from a generation that hardly participated in child-rearing, but I'm still so happy. I'm sure my wife is so happy that she's being a little pushy.
That's once I heard these words from him. I couldn't blame his wife's home-cooked food. Was her mother-in-law a good person? I guess women are mean to women. When I told Jack about his sister's pregnancy that night, when he came home from work, he also had no idea and immediately contacted his sister. Congratulations. I had no idea. When did you find out? It's a little after you found out that your wife is pregnant. I've been in the hospital, so I haven't had the energy to let you know. By the way, about Mom. What about Mom? Does she make you eat a lot of food, saying that pregnant women should get more nutrition? Oh, like porridge. Well, I could hardly accept that either. What about sashimi or cured ham and melon? What? Generally speaking, raw foods are to be avoided during pregnancy. You have to be careful. Don't make Luna eat raw food, okay? So her mother-in-law did it on purpose. She doesn't serve bad things to her own daughter, does she? Did you have a bad relationship with your mother-in-law? I think it was normal, at least until I got pregnant. There was almost no interference from her, and we only saw each other during holidays and have a drink together. Jack's sister is also a nice girl, and it would only be negative for me to make a fuss here and have a bad relationship with them. I decided to avoid my mother-in-law's home-cooked meals and managed to get by. Rather than making relationships black and white, sometimes a great relationship with a good distance between people can maintain a balance for a long time. I think I made a mature decision, but that is only if the other party has the same sensibilities. I guess she was concentrating on taking care of her own daughter. I stopped hearing from her for a while. A nasty blur remained in my heart when I thought of her serving something healthier for her daughter. But Jack and my parents took care of me. Little by little, my feelings calmed down. Then, when I was in the stable period, she contacted Jack.
My sister wants to have a dinner party to wish for safe deliveries for Luna and my daughter. Is it convenient for you?
So that, so is it at a restaurant in Seoul?
No, my wife will cook food.
Actually, easing on head. Nuna got sick to her stomach and dehydrated from all the food mom's been cooking for her.
Is that so? Why didn't you tell me sooner? It was hard for me to say. I didn't want to think Mom had any bad intentions. I don't think she did it intentionally. I'll tell her to be careful. Yeah, please don't provoke her too much. I'll see you on the day.
If all the relatives are going to get together, I think she will prepare something that everyone will enjoy, don't you think?
I would to think so. I guess she won't serve anything raw if my sister is coming. I don't like how unfair that is, though.
You only get together with your relatives once a year or less, right? Then I'll put up with it. Of course. I won't eat anything dangerous anymore. I thought that she would not be acting suspiciously outwardly where her relatives could be watching. Besides, this time I had knowledge of the food that I shouldn't eat. I was sure I would be fine. On the day of the party, I nervously went to her house only to find out that Jack's sister and her husband were absent.
My daughter is feeling a little under the weather. So, Luna, you eat a lot today.
I had a bad feeling, but there are relatives. Jack is also keeping a close eye on her this time. Yes, I could go to the kitchen to help. I can check what she is making. I can serve myself, and I can control the amount of food. I thought so and went to the kitchen.
No, you're pregnant. Sit down. I'll take care of everything.
Lecture in the beginning, she turned down my offer as if she cared about my body. But halfway through the process, she started to say,
It's a small space. Don't come into my kitchen.
She treated me like a complete distraction. She's finally showing her true nature. If I don't help, she's going to say something. What on earth is she going to make this time? I was anxious, and Jack said,
I'm going to the bathroom, and I'll check on the way back.
Then he left. I felt bad for him. After more than 10 minutes had passed, he finally returned. Luna, let's leave as quickly as possible.
That's right. Oh, the meal's not ready yet, and your aunt, the hostess, hasn't arrived yet.
The atmosphere was unusual, and as Jack was about to speak, my mother-in-law appeared with the food.
Thanks for waiting, everyone.
Following her, my father-in-law also showed up, but there was something disturbing going on. And hey, what's wrong? Did you guys get in a fight?
It's nothing. It happens all the time.
She laughed loudly, but her eyes were not smiling at all.
Come on, we're celebrating today. Luna needs to be well nourished. First of all, seaweed for anemia. Simmered stew, seaweed and rice, all black and full of iron.
A blackened heap of seaweed was laid out in front of me.
Vitamins are important too, right? Here, grilled eel. The biggest one is Luna's. It's low in calories and good for you.
I glanced at Jack and saw him researching very fast while looking at the food. Hector, I wondered if something bad was written again, but the other relatives were oblivious to such things. Oh wow, you must be so excited. They are trying to add to the smiling atmosphere. Mark told me with a nervous look on his face.
Luna, don't eat. Even if you do eat, take only one bite.
Is something wrong?
Yes, I'll explain later.
He seemed to be enduring the situation in an attempt to somehow pass the occasion peacefully. But seaweed and eel seemed to be good for you, but were they bad? I was so skeptical that I couldn't even smile affectionately anymore, and my mother-in-law came up to me with a smile that even made me feel scared. You can't toast with alcohol, so I made special herbal tea. You should relax with this.
What herb is this?
It is a blend of various herbs that are good for women's beauty and health. And
I would like to know what you blended, too.
I was looking for some herbal tea to drink before bed.
Thanks to one of the relatives who asked the question without offense, my mother-in-law hesitated for a moment and then mentioned the name of the herb.
let's see, chamomile, aloe, lavender, rosemary, lemongrass. I've also added astragalus and jasmine to soften the acidity.
Oh, it's so authentic.
Aloe is often found in yogurt, and lavender is a healing aroma that everyone knows. Rosemary is also used in stewed food, and I like astragalus and jasmine teas. I picked up a cup of herbal tea to moisten my throat for the time being. No! Don't eat anything. Don't drink it.
That's wrong. Jack?
All the herbs you just mentioned are the ones Luna should avoid during pregnancy. It says there are 10,000 herbs out there, and I don't think it's a coincidence that you can pick out 7 of them that are only considered bad during pregnancy. The food, too. Seaweed and eel are bad, too. Seaweed contains arsenic, so don't take too much during pregnancy when the immune system is weakened. And 5 grams of dried seaweed up to twice a week is the standard.
Oh, really? It's surprisingly few.
Everyone was drawn to the black plates lined up in front of me. Jack continued his explanation while looking at his cell phone. Apple is rich in vitamin A, but that can cause morphological abnormalities in babies. It says it is good if you don't eat it every day, but 100 grams once a week is recommended.
Oh my, I'm so sorry. I prepared so much food thinking it would be nutritious. It just happened to be a bad combination.
Coincidence? I looked up all the foods you have served Luna so far. All of them are things that should be avoided during pregnancy. Axed, in fact, after eating your food, she got sick to her stomach and dehydrated. You can't be serious.
Shut up! Just because she's pregnant and nervous, you can't talk about my cooking like it's poison.
Luna is making you say that, isn't she?
Hey, today is a celebration to pray for safe delivery, right?
Then, I would say lavender is not a good choice because it may loosen the uterus. Chamomile causes a uterine contraction, and astragalus also causes the uterine contraction and expulsion of foreign substances out of the body. If you drink a lot of jasmine, rosemary, lemongrass tea, you increase your chances of premature labor. It's definitely something that experts and doctors will tell you to avoid as much as possible. Hearing that, I hurriedly let go of the cup of herbal tea that I had been holding. Officer, this is her. Like a loose and well-defined criminal with a clear intent. What's going on? Hence, it was when the dining table was filled with a heavy atmosphere. I'm so sorry I'm late. Some parents were a little late picking up their kids. Ex-aunt who organized the dinner party arrived. She's a former midwife and now a powerful woman who works as an infant care volunteer and part-time staff at a daycare center. Why is it so quiet? Wait a minute. Who prepared this food? All of them are not recommended for pregnant women. And this scent, it's bright. It's like a mixture of things, but it smells like lavender. They're all food that should not be eaten in excess, especially by a pregnant woman. You know that, don't you? Jack's aunt knows a lot about pregnant women and infants because of her previous jobs. My brother contacted me and I was concerned. He said you were serving something that was upsetting Luna's stomach. I warned you when I called you the other day, didn't I? You can't say you didn't know. Sure. I told you if you're going to serve food to a pregnant woman, you should be careful. Yeah, so I wanted something nutritious. You wanted to know what foods to stay away from during pregnancy, so I wrote down everything I could think of. How did that end up in this mess? My mother-in-law was not able to talk back to her since she was the leader among the relatives. And then Jack stood up and faced his mother. I heard you talking to Dad over there earlier. You said you want to take better care of my sister's child? What are you talking about? You want my sister to inherit Dad's business. You want to prioritize the child your own daughter gave birth to. Mom, you said that. Is that why you've been collecting things that make me sick all this time? I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you all picking on me? It's true. Nah, I never thought you were a bad person until I heard what you said earlier. Is that true? It may be inevitable that you have more affection for your own daughter than your son's wife. But Luna's child is your son's child. If I only had one grandchild, I'd prioritize that child over anyone else.
I only had one grandchild. I prioritize that child over anyone else. But if you have more than one, you have to rank them, don't you? I don't understand why my daughter's child can't be the heir just because she got pregnant a couple of weeks later than Luna.
Ah, so that's how she really feels. Of course, everyone has their own real feelings and pretexts, but harming someone is out of the question. I was shocked because I had thought that she was being kind to me in her own way. In the first place, I had never thought about being her successor at all. The relatives looked awkwardly at my mother-in-law after hearing Jack and his aunt's various comments.
In other words, you have been deceiving everyone and has selected and served only those items that could be harmful to pregnant women. Were you hoping for the result that Luna's pregnancy would not go well so you can have only one grandchild?
It's a gamble, because nothing ever works out 100 of the time.
The more I listened to her, the worse I felt. I couldn't believe how many times I had cared to eat food that was made by such an ogre-like mother-in-law. I should have kept my distance from her the first time I got sick to my stomach.
I will never forgive you for trying to harm my precious wife and my child.
It's your fault for refusing to take over our business as the eldest son.
Stop it. I've told you many times that I don't care if we don't have an heir.
You may not care, but I do.
It's not like you were working. Who do you think you are?
You did something that can't be undone for such a stupid reason. No one can be happy like this.
Luna was eating what was served to her without any suspicion. She doesn't know enough about being a mother. She pointed at me with an ogre-like expression.
That's enough. I'd be happy if someone else would take over my business, but that's only if there's a connection. You need to think about the happiness of your children and grandchildren unconditionally. You need to calm down and think about what you did.
His serious temper and his sister's big sermon. Then my mother-in-law's crazy self-defense started an endless argument, so Jack and I decided to leave. My mother-in-law's plot against me was revealed in front of all the relatives. Ex-sister, who's absent due to illness, heard about this later. It's the devil's plan to prevent my brother and his children.
It's the devil's plan to prevent my brother and his child from being born.
She was so shocked that she stopped going to her parents' house. Toward the end of the year, it was decided that Jack's sister's husband would be transferred overseas, and her mother tried desperately to stop them from going. My mother-in-law was devastated that her grandchild, whom she had planned to dote on, and her daughter, whom she had planned to be her ally, had left. She called Jack several times.
Protecting my family is my first priority. I'm not gonna see you until she's recovered and I can accompany her.
He also said that to his mother very clearly. Jack told me that his aunt sometimes goes to see his mother, to talk to her and to teach her about the state of grandparents these days and what young mothers are saying. If you want to dote on your grandchild, you have to care about their parents too. Ex-sister has safely given birth overseas. I also finished childbirth one step ahead of her, and I'm now raising my child without enough sleep. I got over the first 3 weeks, but it looks like I will still be sleep deprived. I'm glad I didn't get food poisoning or go into premature labor due to my mother-in-law's food. Baby food is really precious, and not being allowed to see them, she deserves it. When I gave birth, I received a large congratulatory gift in the joint names of my in-laws, and she has apologized many times. I'm thinking that when my daughter's head sits up, I will let my mother-in-law see her at least once. This time, I will definitely not see her unless it's at the restaurant. Mother-in-law has gone too far in trying to prioritize her grandchildren, and as a result, she has been distanced from both her daughters and her son's families. I have learned a lot from my regrets at that time, and now I'm well-versed in recommended food, not only during pregnancy, but also after giving birth. I hope that my mother-in-law will learn to be thankful for the safe births of her grandchildren